cannabis?
How about cannabis? I don't have clinical experience with that.
It helps people sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, there are THC receptors, and it's not something I use in my office.
At least I don't talk about it.
Well, I've had patients come in and test it on them and stuff, but I will tell you that excessive cannabis use leads to adrenal stress and adrenal depletion. Pardon me? Yeah, there are a lot of things. There's a lot of studies out there about the bad effects of it, which have all been washed under the table with all the legalization of it. But if you take a person who's been using a lot of pot for a long time, whatever it is for them, or a lot is whatever it is for them, they'll have adrenal problems. They just have adrenal problems.
And sleep problems.
They have all kinds of other potential problems. But what I'll tell you is that you got a patient who can't get rid of their adrenal problems, ask them if they're using marijuana. And then say how often. So, okay, I'll tell you the story. So I'm in Detroit, and this guy starts dating this girl who's a patient, one of the other doctors in our office. And she's all natural oriented, does organic cooking and all that kind of stuff, and she kind of falls for this guy, he kind of falls for her, and he's kind of he's kind of a scumbag kind of a guy, really. He kind of works on the line at Ford, and he kind of stinks, and he's dirty, and he's just this guy, and he's a nice enough guy. Pardon me?
Is that Dave or Fred?
But the guy comes into the office, and he's like excited to maybe try something different because he's got with this girl, and he sees how healthy she is and all, and he's kind of really feeling tired a lot, and he's getting real woozy sometimes, almost passing out when he's working on the cars, and his blood pressure drops like 20, 25 points when he stands up, and taking the history, and I said, well, do you use marijuana or anything like that? He says, yeah, a little bit. I said, well, what's a little bit? He says, oh, not too much. I said, well, what's not too much? He says, oh, just 6 or 7 joints a day. And I said, and you consider that a little bit? He says, well, actually, yeah. He says, because the other guys I work on the line with, they're smoking 12 or 13 joints at work during the day. So you wonder why the cars are the way they were. Anyway, but I got the guy off the marijuana, and his adrenals came back, and he was fine. He didn't have any dizzy spells anymore, and he started eating better too and everything else. But I recently had another patient, another young guy, and it was like deja vu. Same thing, young guy, worked in a job where he could smoke pot during the day and did it, and his adrenals, he had 2 dizzy spells. 2 spells where he had I think he passed out, kind of caught himself as he passed out. And one time where he had to kind of go down because he was starting to pass out. I think one time he actually went to emergency room both times, couldn't find anything wrong with him. His blood pressure was dumping at 20, 30 points when he stood up, Raglan effect. I said, how much pot do you do? He says, oh, every day. I said, for how long? He says, for a number of years. I said, cut it in half. Don't eat those sweets that you're eating. And he came back, a month later, and he was absolutely fine. And he was doing pot maybe 3 times a week instead of every day. And it was for him enough that his adrenals were unloaded to the point where they could function. He had no more dizzy spells. He had the most energy he'd ever had. So people sometimes have a lifestyle of doing something like the marijuana, and they think there's nothing wrong with it. It does have its adverse effects, and one of the adverse effects of marijuana would be really stressing the adrenals under heavy use, which heavy might be twice or 3 times a week for some patients, might be heavy. Maybe once a week is okay. Maybe some people can do it every day and it's not heavy for them, but it's real variable, but it does have some adverse effects.
Cannabidiol is different than the THC effects.
I'm sorry?
The cannabidiol.
Cannabidiol is different than the THC effects. I'm really not familiar with all the intricacies of that.
Different, like cancer treatment.
Oh yeah, so they use them for different medical treatments of cancer and so on. Yeah, okay. Thank you.